All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be talking about how to create Google Ads, a beginner's guide. My name is Steve Mahoney. I am a mentor with the Greater Hartford chapter of SCORE. And today I'm with two of my favorite people to spend time with on Zoom. Kathleen Thompson is my colleague with SCORE. She's going to be she and I will be co-hosts today. And our presenter today is Sarah Bletcher. Sarah's going to be leading the conversation today. Just to give you a quick background about her, she is a strategic marketing professional with extensive experience in advertising, branding, social media, email, and marketing automation. She is currently the Chief Marketing Officer of My Local Chefs, which is focusing on delivering healthy, delicious, medically tailored, and culturally relevant meals to people in Connecticut. She has also founded Bletcher Digital, which is a full-service digital marketing agency specializing in strategic marketing plans and high-end creatives for mid-sized businesses. So welcome, Sarah. Before I turn the mic over to Sarah, I'm going to say a few words about SCORE for those of you who are new to learning about SCORE. Sarah, if you could flip to the next slide. So SCORE is a nationwide organization. If you could flip through the rest of those there, I think we've got it on. Thank you. We're a nationwide organization made up of about 10,000 volunteers in over 250 chapters across the country. Our main focus is on providing mentoring services to our clients focused on small businesses. We also provide webinars and workshops like this one. And we also have a resource library on our website, which has a host of information to help you run your business, regardless of what industry you work in or what help you might need in, whether it's legal or financial or marketing. More than likely, we've got a mentor who can help you out. And the best part about our services is that they are free. We also sign a code of ethics every year to ensure that we keep your information confidential. So if you are interested in learning more about finding a mentor to help you with your business, you can go to score.org and sign up there. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Sarah. And if anybody has any questions as we go through this, feel free to put it in the Q&A box, and we'll keep an eye on that as we go through.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. So again, my name is Sarah Bletcher. I'm a digital marketing consultant out of Simsbury, Connecticut. I have been in the digital marketing space for about 24 years. So I'm very excited to talk to you guys today about one of my favorite topics, Google Ads. This topic is actually really broad and really deep. So we're just going to kind of skim the surface today, but we're going to get to a point where you can actually place your own ad. So what we're going to cover is the 7 types of Google Ads. There are actually 22 variations. We're not going to hit them all. I'm going to show you a little bit about how users experience search on Google and whether or not they're searching for a product versus service. The interface changes. We're going to talk about creating our first smart ad. And that's going to include researching keywords and writing ad copy and talking a little bit about landing pages. Then we're going to go into setting up the ad, just looking at the screens of what you got to get through in order to get that ad up. And then we'll talk a little bit about understanding costs, ending with a handful of best practices and a couple of recommendations to get you started. So this is a big agenda. We only have an hour. I'm going to go pretty quickly, but I'm hoping that Steve and Kathleen can monitor the questions and hold them and or bring them up when it seems like the time is right. So let's first talk about the types of Google Ads. Originally, Google Ads were just the number one here. Search campaigns. Someone would go to google.com, they would type in a search term, and the top 2 or 3 results would be a paid placement. That is no longer the case. Google is slowly taking over the world. So they also offer display campaigns. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the topic or the word display, all it means is an image advertisement that appears on various websites. So Google has given 22 million websites on the internet a piece of code. They've put it on their site, and through that piece of code, they're able to display a Google ad that you can set up through their system. The second type of ad is a video campaign. At a certain point, Google bought YouTube. So if you wanted your video ad to show up in the middle of someone watching their favorite YouTube channel, you can do that. And you would do that at google.com, their ads.google.com. They have shopping ads. So if you've ever gone to Google and seen the top results where you're searching for a product and a whole bunch of products list out, so they have a shopping campaign type. If you're selling or promoting a mobile app, they have a way to do that. So if you're in one mobile app, it'll promote another mobile app so that you can increase your downloads of your app. They do local campaigns. You can do local campaigns, which is if you've ever gone to Google and typed in hair salon, it knows that you're looking for a local service. So it pops up a map with all the local hair salons near you. You can pay to be at the top of that list. And then the one we're going to talk about today is called a smart campaign. And what it does is the smart campaign, instead of having you set up your own ad yourself, it just asks you a series of questions. So it's a little bit like a wizard that walks you through the process of creating your ad. And that ad might be a video ad, it might be a display ad, it might be a search ad, it could be an app ad, it could be a local campaign ad. The smart campaign will, through the questions that they ask you, actually get you to the right ad type. Does that make sense? Okay, we'll keep going. So the most important thing is to understand what users actually see so we can see where our ads would appear. The first search I wanted to do was actually a product search. So baby gates, let's see if we can't find some of those. As the user is typing in baby gate, Google's actually going to suggest some other phrases that people often will type in to find a similar item. So you'll see baby gates for stairs, baby gate with doors, baby gate Walmart. So why this is relevant is these are other popular terms that you might want to have your ad appear on. So when you're creating your ad, you may only think, oh, I want my ad to appear for the term anytime someone types in baby gate, but you may find out that some of these other phrases are less expensive to buy. And we'll talk in a bit about how each phrase, each keyword or key phrase actually has a different cost. There's a lot of things that affect cost. So you can find out how much each of these phrases costs and which one might be the least expensive to purchase by using tools. One of the tools I like is called wordstream.com. So if you go to wordstream.com/keywords, it's a free keyword tool. You would type in baby gate, and then it would tell you how much that word costs along with a whole bunch of other relevant words or related words. And then you can find out which ones are the most sought after, which means the price is really high, and which ones are maybe they don't have many advertisers on them. So it's a lower price. So on this product search for baby gate, the results page looks like this. So the top results are actually a list of physical products that you can buy within a click. This is actually the product ad that we had seen previously. It was one of the ad types that Google offers. In order to have your products, let's say you're selling a product, in order to have your products appear, you will need a Google merchant account. And actually at the end of this presentation, I'll tell you more about the different kinds of accounts you need in order to create different kinds of ads. They're all Google accounts. They're all easy to set up. But in order to get a product ad complete, you have to have a merchant account as well as a Google advertising account. So further down the page on this results page for baby gate, we actually see the natural results. Now, the natural results for Google are always going to be the highest traffic site. You will never find a local business in this list, or rarely will you find a local business or regional business. It'll always be one of the big national businesses like Target, Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot. So let's take a look at a service. Let's say I'm a lawyer, I'm a local lawyer, and I want to appear when someone types in lawyer. As the user is typing in lawyer here, Google is suggesting Lawyers Connecticut, Lawyers Hartford, Connecticut. Now, Google's doing this because it knows I'm in Connecticut. But lawyer baby, lawyer salary, this is just to give us an idea of what people are searching for so that we can, again, go back to wordstream.com/keyword and start looking at what things cost. Now, here's an interesting search results page. It doesn't look like the previous one for products. This one looks like a service search. So the first results that appear are actually local ads. So remember, we talked about the 7 kinds of ads. One of them is a local ad. And this has a goal of type call, and the first guy is Google Screen. So there's an extra level of research that Google can do on your business to make sure you're real. And once that's done, you get this little tag of Google screened. So I've typed in lawyer, I get my results, and the top are the local ads. There are actually ads below that, and these are the regular search ads. So remember, we had 7 types of ads. So if I did a local ad, I actually appear on top. But if I did a search ad, I appear next. And then there's one more set of ads. Well, actually, it's not exactly an ad, but it can be. Anyone who has a Google My Business account will show up on the map. So then the map appears next. And if you've noticed, we've already gone 3 different screens and we haven't gotten any natural results yet. So if you're selling a local service, this is something that you would expect when someone types in lawyer. On the map, it's going to show law offices, but it shows different law offices in different sizes. And that's because the law offices that are largest actually have a Google My Business account. They have a lot of reviews. You'll see 33, 9, 37, and they have a lot of actual testimonials where someone has written down. And then after all that, for our service search, you can see that the natural results come in. And again, the natural results are going to be these high traffic sites like Yelp, lawyers.com, and even Justia, which, despite saying Simsbury Elder Law Lawyers, is a large listing site. So one of the things I wanted to ask find out more about was those who are on this call, on this webinar. Are you selling a product? Are you selling a service? And have you created ads before? Were we able to do that kind of poll, or can we do it now?
I just launched it now. So if folks can just take a minute or two to answer these questions, and then we can read out the results here.
Okay, and if you can just pause 1 second, I have a dog situation. I'll be right back.
All right, so we've got some responses coming in. That's great. Thank you. All right. Just over half of the folks have responded. This is great. All right. Thank you, everybody who has.
How are we doing?
Good. We got about 80% of the folks have. So we'll close this out now, and then I'll go through the results with you, Sarah, if that's all right.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. So are you a local or national business? 61% are local. We had about 23 respondents, by the way. So 61% local, 39% national. Product or service or both. Service is about half, 57%. Both is 26%, and product 17%. 74% have not yet created a Google ad before.
Okay.
61% do not have a Google Ads account, and about 50-50 in terms of a Google My Business account.
Okay, lovely.
Okay.
Well, that was very helpful for me, just so I know who's on the call today. I would say the number one thing to do if you are a local business is to get a Google My Business account. It's the way that you get on that map, and it's really important to be on that map because other people will be there. So if you have a service or you're selling a product and it's something local, Google My Business account is something that you're going to want to do. In order to place ads, you're going to need an ads account. So that's something that we'll talk about more today. And yeah, it's very interesting. So budget plays into this factor, but when you are creating your ad, you actually get to decide whether it gets shown, say, to only people in Connecticut, or to people across the US, or to people across the world. So depending on who you sell to and where you sell, you get to customize that in your ad. Okay, good. So one of the first things we want to do is to start picking our keywords, and we want to look and see what people are searching for. Sometimes you'll be surprised at what they're searching for. And you want to see what kind of competition you're up against in terms of price and cost. But first, there's a very important concept that I want to explain. So back in the day, the highest bid would win, right? So I'm selling mugs, Steve's selling mugs, Kathleen's selling mugs, whoever sells mugs, whoever's bid for that ad placement is highest would win. But then what happened was all the advertisements started to look bad and not be relevant to the searches. So I'd search for, I don't know, baseball gloves, and up would come a kitty litter ad. So in order to solve that, Google created something called a quality score and a format impact. So in this description that I have up on the screen, we have Bob, Jane, Sue, and Tom. Bob says he's willing to pay the most. He's like, I'm willing to pay $4 in order to have my ad on top. Jane says $3, Sue's at $2, and Tom's at $1. So you'd think, oh, Bob's ad will definitely be on top, but his ad actually doesn't get shown. And the reason is the quality of his ad, meaning the title of his ad and the words on his landing page don't match the key phrase that the person is typing in. And the format, which is basically having access to your business's name, address, and phone number, is low as well. So he didn't include any of those kind of verifiable pieces of information in the ad either. So his ad, despite willing to pay $4, never shows. Now you'd think, well, Jane's ad definitely has to be shown because she's willing to pay $3 for that spot. But unfortunately, even though her quality score is high, meaning her ad matches the key phrase the person typed in, and the landing page matches as well, she didn't include information about her business. The business seems a little shifty. There's no location or phone number or all the things that actually a Google My Business account would validate for you. So who actually wins this ad spot? It's Sue. Sue only has to pay $2. So she set a max bid of $2 and she ends up winning the spot. So it's not as easy as just who wants to pay the most money for the ad spot. You have to be worried or concerned about your advertisement and your landing pages and how much Google knows about your business. So the tool that I mentioned before was called WordStream. There's a ton of them, but they're basically keyword research tools. And all these keyword research tools, you type in your key phrase that you think is relevant for your business. In this case, we had used the Babygate example. So I put in Babygate. And up comes the volume of searches. So 90,000 people a month type in the words Babygate. In order to get an ad on that screen, it's going to cost me anywhere between 40 cents and $1.17. Now, I don't look at the top of the page low range. I only look at the top of the page high range in order to say what's, how much could I have to pay for this thing? So as I look down at some of these terms, I wouldn't have thought of them, like doggy gate, baby gate for stairs, childproof gate for stairs, and they all have different dollar amounts. So as I look down, I see there's two keywords that are only 53 cents. And that's Regalo Baby Gate, which I may be a competitor to that brand, but it doesn't matter. I can still buy their keyword. And the other one is Safety Gate for doors, which wouldn't be something that I would think people would type in, but 12,000 people type it in every month. And it only has a cost of 73 cents. There's another one too, I think Babygate with door, that's only 73 cents. So those are the words that I would think about optimizing my campaign or creating a campaign for. Now, remember what we just said about who wins the ad space? So what I'm going to want to do is not just have an ad that says Babygate with a landing page that says Babygate. I might want to say, alternatives to Regalo Baby Gates or Safety Gates for doors as my ad, and then Safety Gates for doors on my landing page. And then instead of paying $1.17 or $1.30, I'm only paying 53 cents or 73 cents. Let's take a look at this same WordStream keyword research for lawyer, and your mind will be blown. So lawyer for personal injury, people are paying $205 in order to get that ad space, or $279. So these are ones where there must be a huge return if you get a client that has a personal injury case that makes this number make sense. But let's say I'm not ready for this. This is my first ad. I'm not ready to pay $279 per click. So what might be a better option for me? Well, divorce lawyer near me, or immigration lawyer near me, or family lawyer near me. So I may have a general law practice, but instead of buying the word lawyer, I actually would buy divorce lawyer or immigration lawyer or family lawyer, because I can handle those things. And then I'm only looking at paying $21, $18, or $28 per click, which still seems like a lot, but law services are very expensive. So it could end up making sense in the end. And then you can see the number, the competition that's available as well. So let's move on to actually the copy in my ad. Let's say you're not, it's hard sometimes when you run a business to all of a sudden start doing advertisements and then be creative at copywriting. Well, the good news is there's something called artificial intelligence, and there are tools out there, AI tools, that help us write. One tool that I like is called ChatGPT. There's another one called Claude.ai. But you can ask these tools in plain language to write your ads for you. So in this case, I went to ChatGPT and I said, write 10 Google ad headlines to sell my law services that include the exact phrase immigration lawyer. And it did a pretty good job. So there's a couple in here that are really good. There are a couple in here that are not so great, but it gets me started so that I can start thinking about how to write my ad. Immigration made easy. Sorry, guys. Can you give me 1 second? Okay. Fostering a pup. That is what I am doing. And I didn't exactly realize how much love and attention that they need during a webinar. But I think hopefully you guys get a sense now that you have resources out there to help you write your copy once you've figured out which keywords you want. Now, you don't need to go into this level of detail. You could actually just say, I'm a lawyer and I just want to buy the word lawyer. And that's absolutely fine. The only thing that these tools do is try to save you some money on your cost per click. So I did it again with ChatGPT. I said, write 10 Google ad headlines to sell my baby gates that include the exact phrase, safety gate for doors, which is a unique phrase I had no idea would be something that would be popular. And it says, secure your space with our top rated safety gate for doors. So if I use that headline in my ad for that key phrase, all of a sudden my quality score goes up. And then even though I might have a max bid of $2, I'll beat out Bob, even though he's offering up $4 for the spot. Does that sound, does that make sense, Steve? So the last piece is actually the landing page. So Google's like, oh, so you had a key phrase, you match the ad to it, but then you take someone on click to some random place that's like buy a webcam. We did that. Us marketers were a little bit shifty. So what Google said was, I want your landing page to have that word as well. So if I were to do a gate for, what did we just say? Safety gate for doors, I would want my landing page to be very simple. And I would want the headline to somehow say safety gate for doors. When those three things line up, the keyword, the ad, the headline on your landing page, that quality score goes up, which means the cost that you have to pay goes down. And these are just some good examples of landing pages. Landing pages should not be complicated. Giant headline, big button, little bit of copy, just tiny bit, in order to match the ad that you're going for, in order to maximize conversion. let's take a little bit of a break here. There was a barking dog. We have a lot of information. Are there any questions coming in?
We do have one about Shopify, integrating Shopify and Google. Is this the time to talk about that, or are you going to talk about that anyway?
I'm actually not including it in this presentation because it's a little bit advanced, but you can create product ads. You can actually link later on. I'll show you where you link things, but you can actually use Shopify in order to take your entire Shopify catalog and hand it over to Google with a few clicks. So there's actually an integration there. One of the things Google doesn't want you to do with products is they don't want you to go and copy and paste. They don't want you to copy your product from your website and paste it into their ad. They just want to sync it. So there's a bunch of different e-commerce platforms, and they all usually have a link to Google, and they have instructions on how to set that link up in order to do Google product ads.
So when we get to that point, can you give this person any kind of guidance?
Sure.
Or is that too complicated for this session?
I could show where to link up, and then there's probably more. The other thing you could do is search on Google for how to do it. It's my favorite thing.
We have another question about where does the landing page sit? Is it on your website?
Yes, it's typically on your website, and usually it's not part of the navigation. So if you have a website, and let's say you have 3, 4, or 5 navigation items, your landing pages exist, but you usually can only get to them through the URL. And then a good best practice for landing pages is actually not to include extra navigation and to really, really simplify. They found out through usability studies, the more links that are available on your landing page, the more likely someone will not convert. So you want maximum 2 buttons. Usually one has to be a very primary color and the other one's like a little bit of a ghost button. Even better, only 1 button.
When you say 2 buttons, do you mean 2 buttons that go to the same place? Or 2 buttons with alternative calls to action, like
2 buttons
buy now or sign up for my email list?
Yeah, 2 with alternative calls to action.
Got it. So you could have multiple buttons with the same call to action if you have extra text or something.
And it should always, your call to action should always be in the first screen view on a laptop. And then it's not really possible on mobile, but if you can get it above the fold on mobile, that's good too. Any other good ones?
Yes, they're related to what you just covered so far. It feels the less expensive keyword phrases are cheaper because they'll only pull up a subset of the potential customers brought up by more expensive phrases. E.g., baby gate with cat door feels like it would bring up just a subset of people interested in baby gates, correct?
Yes. The simpler the phrase, the more people that it will return. So one of the benefits of generic phrases, like let's say fresh meals, right, is you'll get anyone who types that in and you're not necessarily sure, even though you might be able to ship your meals, they may be looking for Meals on Wheels, which is a free meal service. So your ad would actually, because it's so broad, would be shown to people that is not relevant. So one of the ways you can reduce your costs is actually to be more specific. But you don't want to be so specific there aren't any ad spaces. Like you don't want to find a phrase that only 100 people type in every month. But if a couple thousand people are typing it in every month and it's more specific, chances are you'll pay a lot less for it. But the question, it sounds like, are you missing out on people? Usually you miss out on people because of your budget size, not because of the word you've selected. Does that make sense? Like if I have $50,000 to spend, I'll get to a lot more people. There's another concept too that's kind of really important. People don't see an ad, click and buy. Right? It takes 5 to 7 exposures before someone typically converts for any kind of product. And then if it's a very high priced item, like thousands of dollars, it takes like 12 to 14. So when we're looking at Google search, we're kind of towards the end of that, 5 to 7. where they've started looking for a solution to keep their dog contained. They start looking for, they know a baby gate could probably be the solution. And now they're deciding whether to, purchase your baby gate. And they're thinking baby gate for doorway or gate for doorway. And so they're kind of at the end of that funnel, but it takes a little while for people to keep seeing ads, clicking on ads before they ultimately buy. It's not very, it's roundabout. People are very roundabout. It's not straight linear.
One more question that's related to what you've covered so far, and we'll hold the other ones for later. Is there a way to know what keyword phrases your competitors are using?
Yes. There are sites called Keyword Spy. There's a ton of sites. Usually they make you pay. So they might give you results for free, like once or twice. Like you'll be able to search, see your competitors, and then part of it will be blurred out. But yeah, there are a lot of tools out there. You can go on Google and just go keyword research, competitive tools, like see what my competitors are doing, and Google will return a bunch of them. What's interesting about that is you can see what they're buying and you can see their ads, but their priorities might be different than yours. So you see that they're paying a lot of money for this one word and they're putting this ad out for it, but it may not be relevant to what you're trying to achieve.
Thanks.
All right, are we ready to do some practical things like how to set up this ad? I think we are. All right. So when setting up our first ad, we're going to go to ads.google.com and there's a giant blue button. It says start now. We're going to click it. Once we click that button, it's going to ask us to select our Google ad account. If we don't have one yet, we haven't set that up. And basically the Google ad account is just your credit card. They want to know who's going to pay for this. So you can either select a Google ad account that you already have created, or you do a new Google ad account. In this case, we're going to do a new one. So then up pops a screen that says, create your first campaign in a few easy steps. So we're going to add our business information, create our ads, and set our budget. We're going to press the blue button again that says, create your first campaign. We can also skip this, but I recommend going through this wizard. It's great. So the next screen, they say, add your information for faster campaign setup. What's your business name? This is an easy one. What do you want to advertise? Now here, you may be tempted to put in your homepage, but I would say don't do it. We want you to put in your landing page, right? So if I had let's say I was giving away a free website development weekend, I would have BletcherDigital.com/free weekend, and I would have that be the destination for this process. I can also put my business phone number. Like, let's say you don't have a website and you're like, I just want people to call me. I'm not digital at all. I just want them to give me a ring. I do pest control. I do, plumbing. You can click your business phone number and type that in. If you're doing an app, if you have an app, you can put that in there as well, or you could do something else. From that URL, Google's going to try to figure some things out for you, and it's really helpful. But the next step is actually linking your accounts. So if I'm going to do a video ad, and I know I'm going to do a video ad, and I want it to be on YouTube, I'm going to have to link my YouTube channel. If I'm going to do a product ad, or I want to do product ads, I want my products to show up when someone types in Babygate at the tippy top, I'm going to have to link my merchant account. If I want to show up at the top of a local services search, I'm going to want to link my Google business profile. And actually, I call it Google My Business, which is what it used to be called. I guess now they're just calling it the Google business profile. But it's basically how you get your business on that map. And then if you're selling an app, there's a way to link up your mobile app below and to add a phone number. What Google's trying to do through this wizard process is make it as easy as possible to figure out which one of those 7 types of ads, or actually 6 types of ads you are. So this is, again, the smart setup process that will filter you into one of those 6 types of ads. So the next screen, it's going to say, what's your goal? Do you want to get more calls? Do you want to get more website sales? Do you want to get more visits to a physical location, get more views on YouTube? So you get to pick your goal. And then it wants to set up tracking. So this is actually a really interesting topic. So in this case, they didn't find the Google Analytics on my website. So I said I wanted to, let's see on the previous, I said I want to get more website sales and leads. And in order to optimize who they show my ad to, they want to know what people do when they get to my site. Google can't tell what people do when they get to my site until I have Google Analytics code on my site. So you're going to need to create a Google Analytics account. And then there's a lot of connections when you do the Google Analytics account, like you point and click, if you have Squarespace, if you have WordPress, if you have some of these regular website builders, it's a click process, but it'll set up Google Analytics on your website. The reason this is important is because it lowers your cost. So if Google doesn't know what people do when they land on your site, it can't show your ad to more people that are similar in profile to the people who check out. It can only show your ad that's similar in profile to people who clicked, not people who converted. So the main reason to do analytics, to have this on your site, is to actually save money. So I said yes, and it said create a Google Analytics property and set it up on your website. I can pick one that I already have, or I can create a new one. I would just create a new one. And then it's time to write our ad. What's really interesting about this screen during the wizard process is it took that URL that we put in earlier, and it's going to try to make an ad for us. Like, it actually is going to take what's on that landing page and try to dream up an ad. Sometimes it does a really great job. Sometimes it doesn't do so well. So what Google wants us to do is put in 3 different headlines. Now, Google doesn't always show all the headlines, and 2 different descriptions minimum. So we can put in more headlines if we want. We can put in more descriptions. And what Google does is mixes and matches all those headlines and descriptions until it gets combinations that work for you, meaning combinations where people actually click through. Because the first challenge is to get someone to see the ad and click on it. And the second challenge is to get someone to see it, click on it, and then convert. If you need help with the language, you can always, again, go back to ChatGPT, or there's another site called Claude.ai. They pretty much do the same thing, but they help you, give you inspiration for language in order to put into these boxes. So the next screen, it says, which keywords do you want to use? Now here, what's interesting about this screen is it selects some keyword themes for you. So marketing online, content marketing online, social media marketing online, because it wants to put your ad out there in front of a lot of people for a lot of different terms. But this is not necessarily the least expensive way to go. So what I would do is I would actually see what keywords they recommend, and I would limit it to just a handful, like 2 or 3 themes, so that you're not necessarily, especially if you're going to have a small budget to start, which most people do, you don't want to go broad. You want to have just a couple things that you know are going to be relevant. Now, if you look below, it actually suggests additional keyword themes, but one of them is marketing in hundreds. There's online marketing platform, which would not be something that's relevant for me. So it's trying to give me a screen to allow me to pick a handful of keywords that I want to show my ad for. And it'll pick these based on both the landing page that you put in and your ad that you just set up. So here's the ad. It'll then try to figure out keyword themes. Next, it's going to ask you where to show this ad. So if you're a national, you sell nationally, then you're going to want to leave this to be the United States. If you are more local based, you may want to say just Connecticut, or just the Northeast, or you can say only Simsbury. The more targeted you get, the higher the cost, but it might be more relevant. So if you have a local service and a bagel shop, a hair salon, a plumbing, you want to make sure your area is really nice and tight, only to places that you're willing, that your customers will drive from, or that you will drive to. we're getting towards the end. So now it asks you to set a budget. In order to tell whether a campaign is working, you can't have like 5 clicks. You won't have enough data points in order to know that, you know, this jump page was right, the keyword was right, the ad was good. You need to spend about 100 to 200 clicks per month just to know, just to have enough data to say, this is working for me. So Google's going to give you 3 different budget options. They're going to give you a low end one where you only get around 30 to 90 clicks, they're estimating. Or they're going to have a mid tier, which is 100 to 230 clicks. And then they'll give you a high end option. In this case, I would look for the one with about 100 clicks, and I would set that if you can afford it as your first campaign. The number one thing in advertising, because things are changing all the time, who's advertising, what people are typing in, how the algorithm works, they're always constantly changing. So there's no price for an ad. It's all relative. So what you want to do is take about 3 months and dedicate, say, I'm going to advertise for 3 months, and then take a look at what worked. And what you'll find is some words didn't work at all. Some words worked really, really well, but maybe there's not a lot of volume. So people don't search it often, but when they do, they convert. And that's when you can start optimizing your campaign. You can also enter in your own budget. If you wanted to say, I don't want to spend 9, 10 on per day, I want to spend $10 per day. Now, because every click is a real-time bid, the price that you're going to pay for each of your clicks is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. But at the end of the month, they're going to make sure that you end up with about $277 worth of spend. So the last screen, well, actually, let's talk a little bit about expected costs. So your cost for ads will be unique to your business, but they have taken a look at various types of businesses and did some averages to find out what on average people pay for a click. So this is actually also from WordStream, and it shows that attorney and legal services, if you can see that blue, they pay over $8 a click on average. Dentists pay between $6 and $8. Home improvement, they're closer to the $6 range. So based on what you're trying to sell, this is just a good benchmark to give you an idea of what a click will cost. This, again, is not exactly what you'll pay, but it gives you a good benchmark whether you're overpaying or underpaying, or whether you're getting a good deal on your ads. Now, remember, these are clicks, not conversions. So they're paying for for attorneys and legal services over $8 for a click, not for a client. And then the same is for dentists, and the same is for home improvement. But if you look at real estate and arts and entertainment, the lowest, I think, is $1.36 for real estate. So there's one other report, like if you want to see the full report, I don't know if you guys are data people or not, but there's a link on this screen and you'll have access to this whole presentation. But people actually not only figure out what the average cost per click is, but they'll go so far as to say, well, how much did everyone pay per lead? And what did everyone in my category end up having as their conversion rate? So if we look at beauty and personal care, the average cost per click is about $300 or $3.10. They had an average conversion rate of like 6.88. So for people who aren't exactly math people, I don't love math, but I wanted to walk you through one scenario. So let's say my cost per click is $2. It's actually a decent amount of money, and I get 100 clicks. That means that I've spent $200 to get 100 people to my website or my landing page. But my conversion rate might only be 6%, which means only 6 out of those 100 people bought anything. So it means it cost me $200 to get 6 orders. And effectively, it means I paid $33 for each order. Now, sometimes that number is so high that it doesn't make sense to advertise. Other times it does when you consider the lifetime value of a customer. So the first question you're going to ask yourself is, did I earn more than $33 for on the order. So yes, I sold them a product and I made $50. So I net, a net positive. Or did I sell them something and I only made $5 on it, at which point I just spent a lot of money. I spent, $28. I lost $28 in the transaction. But the big question is, will they buy from me again? So if I spend $33 in order to get a new hair salon client and they end up getting their hair cut every 3 months for the next 10 years from me, then it was a pretty good deal, right? If I end up getting an immigration law client and I end up making a couple $1,000s on them, then the $33 is not a bit, sounds like a great deal. So the first question is, did I earn more than whatever amount on my order? The second question is, will they buy from me again, making this amount make sense? Or can I lower my costs by picking some other keyword or improving my ad quality? So the last screens are just to review the ad to make sure you're feeling good about how it looks, what it says. And then it's like a circus over here. So the last screen is give us your money, my payment info. The one thing I wanted everyone to know is during this payment info screen, there's an introductory offer promotion code. So if you create a Google My Business account or a Google Business account, which puts you on the map, and all local businesses should do this, during the process of creating that account, they give you $500. Now, it's not a free $500. You have to spend $500 to get $500. But you would put that code in here and you effectively get $1,000 worth of ads for only half the price. Right at the very, very end, when you're ready to go live with your ad, your first ad, there's this little pop-up that comes up and says, we want you to know a couple of things. So by doing a smart campaign, you're agreeing to let Google make improvements on your campaign. So they're going to start, making adjustments as to the location that it gets shown. They're going to follow your guidance, but then they're going to make a little bit of adjustments in order to make your ad perform better. The other piece is remarketing. So for those of you who don't know what remarketing is, basically, as I mentioned before, people need to see you over and over and over again about 5 to 7 times before they convert. So if somebody looks at your ad, you want to show them your ad again and again and again. And you want that ad to follow them around all the websites that they're on until ultimately they go, yeah, I do want those shoes. That's called remarketing. In order to do that, where those shoes follow you around the internet, we need something called cookies. And the cookies are basically a tracking technique that tracks you around the internet. Some people do not like this. They are very privacy focused and they're like, I don't want you to track me. I don't like it. And for a while, it didn't matter that consumers were upset about it until the European Union decided to make a law that said you have to give someone the ability to opt out of cookies. So you've probably gone around the web recently and this little pop-up shows up and says, do you accept the cookies? And you either say reject all, customize, or accept all. So people can actually opt out of cookies. The EU has a fine, I think, of 10 million pounds for tracking someone when they said they didn't want to be. And then a bunch of other laws started popping up. So there's a law in California now where I think it's $2,700 per infraction. So if you collect someone's data and they said no, and you didn't mean to, it's $2,700 per incident. But if you did do it maliciously, it's like $5,700. And if you did it for 1,000 people, that's a lot of money. Brazil just added a privacy thing, and so did Connecticut as of July. So you're going to see these little pop-ups that come up that ask people if they want to opt out of tracking. That pop-up is something that you can control in Google Analytics. So when you set up your Google Analytics, there's a part of that process where it says, do you want us to request consent from anyone in Connecticut, from anyone in California, from anyone in the EU, European Union, from anyone in Brazil? And you go, yes. But that's part of a Google Analytics setup. But it's really important because they it's so important that they put it as a step in this process of creating an ad. So with all that said, we just click accept and continue. And it says, congrats. Now, what Google has done is it started your campaign. Your campaign is running and they are charging you. So what you want to do is click explore campaign, and then it'll take you to ads.google.com, your interface. Right below your campaign, there's going to be a button. And what I do whenever I create one of these smart campaigns is I just immediately pause it because I'm not ready to set it, free yet. So I just immediately pause it. And then I think, okay, do I want it to start next week? Do I want it to run for 2 weeks? Do I want it to run for 3 months? When do I want this thing to go? But after you go through the wizard process, the most important thing to do is pause that campaign until you're ready to go. If you don't, Google will start charging you the $9.10 a day. And then this page will start to gather data. So as they start to show your ads to people, you can find out how many impressions, how many people saw it, how many clicks, how many people clicked through to your landing page, how many calls you got, how many conversions you had. If Google Analytics is set up, it'll make some recommendations. It'll tell you which words you're showing up for. It's actually a pretty great page. And then it reminds you of how much you're spending. So here's probably another good point to stop and take a break and see if there are questions. Ooh, I think Kathleen's on mute.
Yes, there are several, and I'm going to focus on the ones that were specific to setting up the ad and the landing pages first. And then, do you have more that you're going to cover?
Yes, I just have a couple of best practices. And do you want me to run through them, or how are we doing on time?
Nope, I'll just hold the rest then. All right, so the ones related to the landing page and the ad setup. The first one is, can you add the links later? If you're in the process of creating your landing page, can you save what you've done and then add the links later to your Google ad?
You should be able to edit your campaign. And you can also duplicate it. You can create a second one, so you can edit it later.
Okay. You mentioned the difference of landing pages viewed on laptop versus mobile. Do people research / buy more on a laptop or mobile? Should my landing page be more mobile friendly or computer friendly?
Actually, an interesting question. Most website development tools, create sites so that they're responsive, meaning that the site that you have on a laptop, when you get to a phone, it just automatically shrinks. So you don't really have the control you think you have in order to create just a dedicated experience on a laptop and a dedicated experience on a mobile phone. Most of the, Wix, WordPress, Squarespace, they all automatically and dynamically change for you. So I would say there's some really interesting stats. Like 86% of people search on Google for a local business. And then 73% of people, as a result of looking at those reviews, show up in store. And a lot of times they're doing that on their mobile phone. The majority are doing that on their mobile phone. Now, if I'm looking for, a car, I'm going to buy a car, I might be on my laptop. So I don't think there's necessarily a difference. I think just keeping your landing page simple so that within, one screen on a laptop or 2 scrolls on a mobile phone, you can get to that call to action is good enough.
The next question is, can you start off with a limited geographic area and expand after you see some results?
Yes. And what's interesting about geographic area is, unless you have a big budget, starting off smaller is a little bit better. People generally don't want to buy. They have more trepidation of buying things from people further away, right? So if I have a choice between buying something from someone in Connecticut versus California, I might choose Connecticut. So you might have a higher conversion rate if you keep it a little bit smaller. When you go to the keyword research tool, one of the questions it's going to ask you, in addition to what word, like baby gate, is it's going to say what state or what area. So the only thing you want to be careful of when you are limiting your region is that there are enough searches. The worst thing that can happen is you pick a word that nationally has 90,000 people every month typing it in, and then in your local area, it's 5. Because you'll end up paying a high price for that, and you won't spend your budget at all because only 5 times it came up and you only showed up 5 times.
That makes sense. Another question related to the budget. When you talked about $200 a month, were you thinking that that was for your 3-month trial period? So it'd be 600 total?
Yeah. Now that price is going to be different depending on what you're selling to whom. So Google's going to tell you what your price is for 100 to 200 clicks, and you have to decide whether you can swing it for 3 months. But if you only do it for a couple weeks, you can't find out anything. Statistically, it's not statistically significant. So you might get a handful of results, but then you can't extrapolate that and say, well, I had a 17% conversion rate, or I had a 2% conversion rate. You won't know because you haven't seen enough people yet.
And the actual question was, is when you're setting the budget on and clicking on that section, when Google says $200, is that per month, or is it for the entire 3-month period?
Oh, it's per month.
Got it.
They do a per month thing. Yeah, so when I started out, clicks were 5 cents. Yeah, 10 cents. It was such a deal. We could get 100 people for like $5. Now it's $5 a click. So I got paid, the numbers are a little bit bonkers. But so it's important to figure out, okay, Google says it's going to cost me about this much a month, and I'm going to get about 100 to 200 people. I do my campaign, I find out, okay, I got this many conversions. Was it worth it? And sometimes the answer is no. If I'm selling pens, it's a low priced item, it doesn't work out for me. But if I'm selling pens and the person comes back next month and buys paper, and the next month after that, staplers, and then next month after that, they end up buying all their office supplies from me, that's a totally different calculus. Then you say, oh, that was worth it.
That makes sense. Next question is, I don't see a category for psychotherapy services, but I do for surgeons. Is there some conflict between analytics / tracking people looking for therapy services?
No, a lot of times they're just guessing what categories to put people in. So these are categories that some human decided to group together. If there's, why they pick dentists to pull out, it's probably because there's just a lot of dentists advertising. I think the best way is to go through the wizard process and find out what it would cost for you to advertise your psychotherapy services in your area. Because these are just to give you guidelines. All I wanted to make sure was that if somebody was in the beauty industry and they saw that they were going to have to pay $112 per click, that they'd say to themselves, that's not typical. Or if someone sees the $8 a click for financial services or for law services, they go, oh yeah, that's about right. Just some benchmark.
Yes. One more question before you move on. Is this still working for nonprofits? I haven't checked in a while.
Oh, advertising for nonprofits? Oh, it all depends on what kind. So I would say a lot of times the nonprofits are telling a story, and the story is about helping someone in need. And it's very hard to get that emotion across in a text ad. So if you're doing a display ad, which is just an image ad, or you're doing a video ad, those could work. But I don't know about a Google search ad. You'd have to look at the keywords that people are typing in order to make a donation and see what words pop up and see if there's relevance there. But I know a lot of times the conversion rate for nonprofits is based a lot on the emotional story you're telling.
All right, and we'll hold the rest of the questions for later.
Okay, we're getting to the end, guys. We're getting there. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the marketing funnel. the marketing funnel is just a way that we talk about how interested someone is in converting. So it starts off with the awareness stage. This is called the top of the funnel, but it's basically the person has a problem, but they're not thinking about it. Like it's not top of mind, but I'm watching a video and all of a sudden it says, "Does your back hurt?" And you go, "Yeah, it does hurt. Here's a solution for your backache." So typically, if you want to catch people in the awareness stage, you're going to be looking at display or image ads and video ads. The next stage in order to get someone to convert is familiarity, which means that they know they have a problem and they know that solutions exist for it. And that you might, maybe you're one of those solutions, maybe you're not, but they are solution aware. They may be searching, they may not be searching. They just know that they have a problem and they're not ready to quite address it yet. The consideration stage is really where the person's ready to address their issue. No one's really on the internet just sort of walking around. Like they have a problem and they're trying to solve it. And whether that's, I need hair clips for my daughter's graduation day, or I need dining chairs for my house, or I need psychotherapy services because we're having some, family issues. They're going to go on, and this is when they're going to do their searching, right? And so the searching, this is where you're most likely to get your conversions and where keyword searching makes sense. So at the awareness stage, you're mostly looking at views, how many people have viewed it. At the familiarity stage, you're really looking at how people clicked through, and now they know that you're part of the consideration set. And then the consideration stage is really where you get the conversions. So that's just some marketing. If you hear top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. So overall, there's just 4 recommendations. There was tons of information today, a lot of it detail oriented. So the couple of things I would leave you with is research additional keywords in order to lower your costs. If I'm a big advertiser, I'm going to go for baby gates. I'm going to go for those big words, and I'm going to spend a lot of money on them. If I'm a small advertiser, I want to look for more cost efficient words. So something I might not have thought of, like baby gate or gate for doorway, which is not something that would come to mind. You're going to want to use those keywords in your ad copy and in your landing page. And that's to improve your quality score and in order to lower your costs. So again, we don't, Bob's not going to win with this ad that doesn't have anything to do with baby gates. You may have to pay a little bit more money if you use the word baby gate, but if you use the word gate for doors, you may end up paying a lower cost. So we're here about getting people to the website and saving money at the same time. The third thing is to add tracking. So it is important to add Google Analytics to your website. And a lot of the website builders out there have a way, once you've created your Google Analytics account, to automatically have it appear on your site. So that's really good. And then in Google Analytics, you just have to make sure that you're doing the proper opt-out so that people who are in Connecticut, California, the European Union, and Brazil don't get tracked. And then the fourth thing is just plan to run your campaign for 3 months. Marketing is touch point based. So what happens is you're trying to build up to 5 to 7 touch points so that someone is ready to convert. If you stop marketing, those touch points go away and you got to start the engine again. It's a little bit like priming the pump. So in those first 3 months, you'll have enough clicks and enough conversions to figure out what your number is. Is it $5 that you have to pay to get a new person to buy from you, or is it $50? And if it's $5, is that the right number? If it's $50, is that the right number? To make financial sense. There were a lot of other accounts that I talked about. The Google Ads account is the one that everyone will need in order to do their advertising. I would recommend the analytics account for tracking. I would recommend the My Business account for anyone who has a business that has a location, or for a service provider that's in a local looking to show up on that map. The merchant account is for anyone who's selling a product or set of products, because in order to get your products into Google search results, it has to go through this merchant account first. And YouTube channel for anyone who's trying to do video ads. we made it. So I know there's probably just a couple more questions, and hopefully we have time for them.
Yes. The person who asked about the connection between Shopify and Google Ads, could we go over that a little bit? And their biggest question is how to tell if the connection has been set up correctly.
Well, that's a hard one to do without actually seeing it all. So usually, if you get stuck, you're going to need a technical person in order to see how you've set it up and whether it's properly set up. There's not really a way to do it like in a webinar format in order to tell whether things are linked. But Shopify absolutely wants you to have your products in Google, so that in Google Ads, so that people click on it and come to your website and buy stuff. So they're going to have ways to do that fairly easily.
So are you suggesting that they look for a Shopify technical assistance as opposed to Google technical assistance?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is a comment, really, asking for a question on how to connect Google Analytics and the rest of what you talked about today.
How to connect them?
Yes.
So, I use Google for everything. The first thing I would do is search on Google for whatever accounts you want to set up. So if you want to set up a Google My Business account, you just type into Google My Business account. It'll come up, you'll create the account, and during that wizard process, you'll have everything you need to go to this screen. Let's see if we can get back to it. Let's escape here. If you remember, during the setup process for the ad, one of these screens is to link your accounts. So once you have a Merchant Center account, you can click link to it, and it'll ask you to log in, and then it'll automatically create the link. And then if you have a Google Business profile, you can click the link button. It'll ask you to log in, or if you're not already logged in, it'll ask you to choose. Does that help?
It sounds like it. If you have any further questions, feel free to type them in the chat. The only thing we have left is a comment saying, nice job, Sarah.
I know it was a lot. Guys, but hopefully you know how to create a smart ad, which is the easiest way to get Google ad, your first Google ad up. You have some idea about how much things should cost, how to think about costs. You have some ideas about how to save money, which is with the keyword research, and some of the technical bits of all the other accounts that you could create should you want, in order to, be able to track to save money, be able to show up on that map, be able to promote your YouTube channel, all those things.
We have one more question that popped up asking, are there tutorials on Google, by Google, on your topics covered today?
Yes, there are a million on YouTube. So I would go to YouTube first and search there for the thing that you are looking for. And it could be the basics of search engine marketing. It could be how to set up your first Google campaign, and everyone kind of does it a little differently. But there's a lot of tutorials about how to get through different parts of the process. The smart ads, though, is the easiest way to create your first ad. The other ones you could absolutely do. You could click on and say, I don't want a smart ad. I want a Google search ad, or I want a local ad, or I want a YouTube ad. You could, and they're wizards, like a step process they'll take you through in order to create that ad.
That same person is asking, do you have any suggestions for YouTube channels? Because there are so many choices of tutorials.
Whatever shows up first. Google's actually the engine now behind YouTube searching, so whatever shows up at the top. And then I would look at length too. If you don't have a lot of time, I would go with the shorter one.
And I would say, from my own experience, not with this subject necessarily, but with all these tech platforms, The ones put out by the tech platform usually aren't as good as ones by other people.
Yeah.
Because they know too much and they assume you know it too. And so they don't explain everything, whereas other people kind of start at the beginning. So if you're better at tech, you might want to go straight. But if you're not, I often go with other people's because they're much better at starting at the beginning and explaining what they mean better than the person who invented the technology to begin with.
And the best personalities will show up at the top. Like, I think there's one guy, Neil Patel. He's got some good things, but it all depends on the subject. So whatever you want to learn, there's somebody on YouTube teaching it to you.
That's it for the Q&A. And so I just wanted to, if Sarah, if you have any closing words, you're welcome to give them.
I would say that I know it's a little bit overwhelming. I know there's a lot to know, but what you want to do is think about your campaign as a time to kind of figure out what you want to do and how much things are going to cost. I don't want you to go into this first ad that you're creating and think, I have to nail it, right? The process is all about learning, and that 3 months is really going to give you enough data to start making smart financial decisions. And if you need help, I'm around. Sarah@BletcherDigital.com.
And as a reminder, this session has been recorded. We will send you an email with a link to the replay as well as a link to Sarah's slides so that you will have access to all that information. And also as a reminder, we have lots of other videos on our YouTube channel. So once you get the email and you click into it to look at this replay, you will see that, especially if you're interested in marketing, you'll see a lot of videos by Sarah, Facebook ads for one, as well as some others. And so we suggest that you subscribe to our channel because anytime we do anything new, we put it on our YouTube channel. And so that way you'll get notified when we have something new that relates to whatever topic you're interested in. If you go to the playlist section, that's where you'll find them separated by category. Otherwise, you can just scroll through the videos tab and it will show you them from the most recent one on back. And as always, score.org is a good resource as well, because we put many of those webinars on our website too. So if you hang out at score.org, you will find the same versions of the videos there. So wherever you go, you can find us on replay as many times as you would like. And so we thank you very much for coming. We especially thank Sarah for hosting today. And we hope that you all are successful with whatever you do with Google Ads. And again, if you want a mentor, you know where to find us, score.org.
Thanks, Kathleen. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and thanks for joining today.